So The Last of Us Part 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, guys. It is my favorite game ever on the PlayStation, and I have absolutely loved this, at least the story, the narrative, and where it's going at this point. I'm really excited to see the future of The Last of Us. That being said, The Last of Us Part 2 released uncompleted. It was obviously a full narrative, a full story that we got, but the other, additions and, continuations of what we were hoping to see did not were not there at launch. That includes the multiplayer did not release when The Last of Us Part 2 came out. And I've been very vocal and upset that it was something that needed to be added or should have been something that came with the full game, because now, let's just say when the multiplayer comes out, a lot of people who played The Last of Us Part 2 have moved on to other games, whereas if it would have released with the multiplayer, then people would have stayed playing the game most likely, especially if it was a really exciting and good experience. After you beat the single-player story, you may want to beat it once or a couple of times, but then you're going to want other things to do within The Last of Us, and you're not able to do that because the multiplayer is still has not released at this point in time. So with that, guys, I want to give you guys an update as to where we stand at this point with The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer. So let's get into it. So an article written by Patrick Young of Game Rant, although Naughty Dog has confirmed the existence of The Last of Us 2's multiplayer, it seemed like it keeps getting farther and farther away. So The Last of Us Part 2's lack of a multiplayer mode was a disappointment to many fans. While Naughty Dog has confirmed that it is in development, it is difficult to make any predictions about when it is coming. An unforeseen surprise to the original The Last of Us was its Factions multiplayer mode, as players started by either joining the Fireflies or the Hunters before going on to compete in brutal death matches, with the winners receiving supplies for their faction. So Factions, guys, was a pretty awesome game mode in The Last of Us Part 1, and obviously a lot of people wanted to see a continuation of that here with The Last of Us Part 2. For me personally, I really wanted to see multiple modes, not just factions, team deathmatch. I want to see a lot of different game modes. That even brings me to like the co-op modes. I want to see co-op modes where you're able to play with your friends against waves and waves of enemies, kind of like Gears of War's Horde mode. I've always said that would be really awesome, having like waves of clickers you're going up against, and then waves of other, different characters and things of that nature from the Last of Us franchise. Game developers and publishers have the right to announce their projects when they see fit. That is indisputable. At the same time, fans have the right to express what they want to see from certain developers. When those two expectations are aligned, the gaming community is usually overjoyed, as the developer can finally show off what it is working on, and fans can share their excitement with the other fans and the developer itself, which is totally true, guys. When it comes to the ambiguous multiplayer of The Last of Us 2, though, it is not the case. As of now, Factions is nothing but words on paper explaining fan frustration. While it is considerate of Naughty Dog to tease its community with the knowledge that it is indeed making The Last of Us 2 multiplayer, this has had the unintended effect of making the game seem less tangible. Before the announcement from this year's The Last of Us Day, the last hint of the game was from 2020 Celebration, creating a full year of silence surrounding The Last of Us 2's multiplayer. The disproportionate hinting by Naughty Dog has resulted in zero understanding of the project and how different it is from the original game's online experience. So we'll kind of pause here. Alyssa, you hear this. Obviously, you're not really big into the multiplayer experiences. You like to play the single-player experiences and kind of go at it at your own pace. Mm-hmm. Now, The Last of Us, when it comes to a title like this, what are your thoughts on, should The Last of Us 2, should they have waited to release it for when it was fully completed, like with multiplayer and all of that, or do you think it's fine the way it is?
Well, I don't know. I haven't played it yet.
Well, yeah, you haven't played it yet, but do you think just games in general, though, do you think that they should release as a full package where you're getting everything, or do you think that they should?
I think it should release as a full package, just because I don't like the multiplayer. That doesn't mean other people don't. So they should be able to have the option to play it if they want.
Yeah.
Like, I would be fine, me personally, I'd be fine if the game just came out just as, like, the campaign. But other people don't care. Like, other people want more than that. So I think it should come out completed.
Yeah, and I think The Last of Us is, it's such a huge game for Naughty Dog. I mean, Uncharted was big, on Last of Us is even bigger, and I think that it really would have helped to have that full package already solidified. I start getting, I start reminding myself of other titles that this is kind of similar to, like Cyberpunk 2077 was a title that releases. It has all these bugs, all these glitches, all these issues, but underneath all of that is a really awesome game. But even if you get through the game, let's say all those bugs and glitches are fixed, the one thing that a lot of people were also wanting to play is the multiplayer for Cyberpunk 2077, and it's nowhere to be found at this point in time. And obviously CD Projekt Red had so much pressure from the shareholders to get this game put out, and it comes out too early, and then obviously you have a lot of people, a lot of buzz and excitement around Cyberpunk 2077, and then a lot of disappointed fans. People move on to other games, and then by the time the multiplayer comes out, people have already forgotten that it was even something that was coming out. And so the same thing here with The Last of Us Part 2. Sure, guys, I was very excited for The Last of Us Part 2 to come out, and I was like, man, I can't wait to get my hands on it, but I would have preferred them wait until it's fully done. From a cooperative perspective, from a multiplayer perspective, and from a story perspective, I wanted it all to be completed before it released. It justifies the $60 price tag when it's a full package like that. If you're buying a game and it's not completed, people feel like they were slighted somewhat, and so that's where the frustration is coming from, because I'm a fan of The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, and I feel like, that, we put all of, you pay $60, and sure, I mainly got it for the narrative, not for the multiplayer, but I can totally understand why so many people are upset about it. Despite the assurances, it is hard to get behind a game that does not yet feel real. Naughty Dog's likely harmless intent of disclosing information piecemeal has given space for ambiguity and speculation rather than definition assertion. Fans should not fault Naughty Dog, but rather better align their expectations for a project lacking a formal announcement. I disagree 100% with that. I feel that we should fault Naughty Dog for releasing a game that wasn't completed. That you have to fault them. It's, sure, Naughty Dog has, the board. They've got, of course, shareholders behind the scenes, that there's this ongoing pressure to release the game because there's excitement, there's buzz around the game, and they just obviously, we're still so young, guys, even though the video game industry's been around for a long time now, it's still young in certain elements, like esports. We're still in the beginning stages of this thing. We don't even know what it's going to fully look like in another decade, 2 decades. And so we're still not there yet. And so I feel like Naughty Dog needed to have more of a, even though the ongoing pressure there, they needed to have the guts to say, look, the game is not completed yet, and should have just waited at that point or another. The future of Naughty Dog looks defined by The Last of Us. So one way or another, new content will come. It is just a matter of when. Based on the lack of info, though, the wait for factions could be a long one. So apparently, guys, it's still in development at this point in time. The question lies is this ever going to come out? And I actually have my doubts. Really, guys. I have my doubts that the multiplayer will ever come out. I feel that they may very well just decide that, being Naughty Dog, like, hey, it's been a number of years since The Last of Us Part 2 came out. We've been working on this multiplayer. Let's just wait to release this multiplayer with The Last of Us Part 3. It just doesn't, to me, it's not lining up, because I just feel that they're going to release the multiplayer. Let's say if they make the multiplayer free to play, that's one thing, right? The multiplayer, if it's free to play, people can just download it, they can try it out, and they can create, some momentum around that. But part of me feels like they're just going to wait till the third game. What do you think, Alyssa? Do you think they'll wait till The Last of Us Part 3, or do you think that they will release it whenever it's done?
But how would they release it if you already bought the game? Would you have to re-buy the game?
No, you wouldn't re-buy the game. It would just be probably an update. It would come in the form of an update, and you update it, and the multiplayer's there.
I don't know. At this point, I feel like they might as well wait until they bring out the third game, because it's already been out for over a year and a half. So.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like, I just feel like you've split the fan base now, because like I said, like me myself, I love The Last of Us Part 2, but You know, and I very well may come back to play the multiplayer if it comes out for The Last of Us Part 2. But I've already moved on to other games, guys. I don't play The Last of Us Part 2 anymore. I played the story. I absolutely loved it. I thought
at this point it's a moot point.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story. It's incredible. But I just think now I've moved on to other things. So if you bring out The Last of Us Part 3 and you say, hey, here's a free multiplayer with The Last of Us Part 3 in the form of factions and other, different types of game modes, then I'm fully on board, because then after I'm done playing the campaign, after I'm done with that, I can move right into the multiplayer experience and play that, or play with my friends in co-op.
Well, that would be like Call of Duty Vanguard coming out and they say, oh, we're going to just wait till the next Call of Duty to release the multiplayer for Vanguard. Like, that would just be pointless.
It would be. Well, it definitely would be. I mean, Call of Duty is built specifically around multiplayer.
No, but I was just using it as an example. Like, no one's going to wait for the multiplayer to come out. They're just going to go onto it every game.
Exactly. Yeah, for a lot of games. And the same thing happened with Cyberpunk 2077. Sure, guys, there are people who are massive fans of The Last of Us and like games like Cyberpunk 2077, and they're more than willing to wait. But I'm saying the masses, the main, like all of the people that really the buzz was built around, have moved on to other games. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Should The Last of Us Part 2, or should I say Naughty Dog, should they just wait until The Last of Us Part 3 to release a multiplayer? Or should they just release the multiplayer whenever it's done? Let us know in the comment section down below. And for more The Last of Us content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.